On this week's episode of Where We Are, we'll discuss the first Republican debate of the 2024 presidential campaign. We're looking forward to it. You're listening to Where We Are.
Hello, Where We Are listeners. If you're a longtime fan of this podcast or you're just joining us for the first time today, we want to tell you more about our podcast platform called Spotify for Podcasters. We've been using this platform for over a year and it's been easy to use and new features are added all the time. You can record and edit podcasts from your phone or computer. You don't need anything fancy and you don't need previous podcast experience. When you hit publish, you will distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify if that's your kind of thing. And with Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. But here's the thing, you can earn money, but it's a free platform. There's no catch. If you're curious or want to see what it's all about, download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
This is Where We Are. We are the Wares. I'm Michael.
I'm Melissa.
Melissa, we've made it to debate season. We'll talk about the debate on this episode. But first, I want to check in with you. How are you doing?
Fine.
You're doing fine. It is good to be to the weekend.
Yeah, it's very good to be the weekend. Our toddlers are toddlering too hard right now.
No, we need Saoirse to exit toddlerdom very quickly because Ilaria
has built an empire.
She is coming into toddlerdom full speed ahead.
Yeah. They're giving me a run for my money. I took them on a day trip to Lancaster. Apparently they pronounce it differently. They're Pennsylvania. And I used to be able to take my kids on day trips all the time. And, don't expect anything to be perfect when you have 2 kids in tow. But, oh boy, I'm going to have to avoid doing day trips with just myself. Even though I had a couple friends with me, but I can't expect them to obviously mind my children. I think I'll be pausing for a while.
No, and we had to do that. Remember, we did a pause of restaurants.
Well, because the pandemic hit as well.
Well, no, but we did a pause on restaurants because Saoirse just
was
kind of
unruly.
For a while.
How are you, Michael?
Surprise mail day got the ARCs, the advanced reader copies of The Spirit of Our Politics. So the first time I've held a physical version of the book. So that was cool.
Yeah, they came out of nowhere. You opened it up and you started giggling, and I was like, "What did you receive?"
Was that what giggling was my?
You opened up and chuckling. You were chuckling to yourself. You're very happy. You're a happy boy.
Let the record know it was a chuckle, not a giggle.
Okay, chuckles.
But yeah, that was great.
It's very pretty.
It's very pretty. It's very bright.
Very Art Deco. Yeah.
Very Art Deco.
I love it. And the only other update on my end, is that we still have our subscriber drive going over at whereweare.substack.com. If you are not a paying subscriber, we are trying to get 50 new subscribers. We have a little bit over 20 right now, which has been fantastic. So for those of you who have joined us in that way, thank you so much. We're really grateful. And if you listen to this podcast a lot, or you read the free posts on our Substack and you have the margin, we would really appreciate if you'd consider supporting us in that way. So whereweare.substack.com, help us to get to our goal. Yeah,
we like to achieve goals that we set, and we set a goal, we'd like to achieve it.
Yes, please.
No, it would be very helpful. So we appreciate it. Our subscribers, our paying subscribers, are what allows us to do this work.
Yes.
And so, especially as we head deeper into the presidential campaign season, which is going to require more work, we appreciate you joining the community in that way. But we're glad you're here regardless. We're happy just to have your ears and your attention. And what had our attention this week, transition.
The debate. I don't know why I just said it like that.
I don't know why either. But this cannot be something that continues.
The debate. Sounds like I say Timothée Chalamet. Sorry.
Okay. Anyways, they kicked off. We know the GOP frontrunner, former President Donald J. Trump, was not there. Mm-hmm. He didn't show up. Although, right, this is what a coup. So everyone at the debate had to sign a commitment, had to sign a pledge that they'd they'd support the eventual nominee of the Republican Party, which is the guy they're all running against, who's 40 points ahead of all of them. And then that guy doesn't even show up to the debate, which means, among other things, he didn't have to be tested in that way. B, he didn't have to sign the pledge. And so what a sham for these candidates. All of them had to sign conceding that if Trump won, they'd support him. Then Trump doesn't even have to concede the same. He gets to have that. So I don't know how sustainable or just how likely it is that he'll continue sitting out these debates. But I'd say not much from how that first debate played out would have me thinking, oh gosh, I made a mistake. I better be there. Now, what'll be interesting though is I think polls are inevitably going to tighten at least a little bit, right? Like folks are going to drop out. You know, it's gonna at some point. You know. Trump's going to be up by less than 20 as opposed to what he's up by now. And so does him showing up at a debate at some point after sitting at least the first one out. Is that weakness? Is that seen to be a crack in the armor that he deigns to show up at a campaign debate when he didn't earlier? But I have to say, Melissa, I thought it was great that Fox News didn't center him in the debate. Obviously, his presence was felt, but there weren't a ton of references to Trump in the first 45 minutes or so. There was a question about an hour in that did, and we'll play a bit of that exchange. But I thought it was honoring of the candidates, and I thought, this is the first time that this campaign season that voters get to hear from these candidates. Let the candidates introduce themselves outside of just responding to Trump. So I actually appreciate the way that Fox News handled that. What we're going to do is we're just going to play some clips and talk through it. We'll give some general impressions. But let's play some clips, and then maybe we'll close with some general takeaways. Melissa, what do you have with us to start?
So I'll start with one of the most viral of the clips. One of the running themes of the debate was Vivek Ramaswamy basically getting under the skin of most of the candidates and making statements, answering, the moderator's questions, and then other candidates just sort of jumping on him. And finally, former Governor Chris Christie just had enough.
He was so annoying that I half expected Amy Klobuchar to come out and throw something at him just out of the stands. Yeah.
You said to me when I finally got home, is for whatever reason, Vivek's stance or role in this debate feels like Pete Buttigieg, and now there's a bunch of stories out about how...
Yeah, I was way ahead of this, and so, now it's like a take, but I mean, check the reels. Check. We did a live thread of the debate, so live in the moment. This was. I'm not saying others couldn't have arrived at it and independently. All I'm saying is, yeah, no major Buttigieg vibes. Not. They're different, but what they have in common was this sort of like this sense of entitlement to be there, and the more seniors politicians
Being very annoyed
being
by
very
that.
disdainful of that. So that's the primary way I mean it, and it was pretty. I don't think Vivek is going to have staying power in this race. I think people who think that he's going to keep on climbing, I could be wrong, but I think his cap is basically at about 15%, maybe 18, and that's it. But Melissa, let's play this clip and let the people hear it for themselves.
I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax. More people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor, hold on. I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here. The last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Okay, so first of all, how dare you bring Barack Obama into this?
Leave him out of this.
Yeah, leave him out of this. Second of all, Chris Christie, entered this race saying he was going to bring the fight to Trump. If Trump doesn't show up, he'll
He's going to call someone ChatGPT.
He'll go to Vivek. Yeah, he'll call him. That is. I mean, it is just good.
I just want to say with Chris Christie, all of that was just extremely on brand for him. But I also want to say with the whole pledge thing before, there is no way that Chris Christie is going to abide by that pledge.
And he did.
He signed that thing knowing full well
There was
he is not gonna abide.
There was a question in the debate about, what if Trump is found guilty, and I think Asa Hutchinson and I think Christie, although don't quote me on that, said that they would not support Trump if that came to be the case, which, brings the pledge into question. Like, what does that even mean? So I thought that clip was interesting. It is a snapshot into. There's no way to capture the role that Vivek played in the debate without. You really kind of need to have seen the debate. In terms of clips, what I can say is he is like a creation of online debaters. He is testing the notion of whether someone who took an IV drip of like Ben Shapiro, could go from no public office whatsoever, no indication that he's interested in public service. He didn't vote in the 2008, 2012, or 2016 presidential election, so he didn't even vote until 2020. But this is a test of whether someone who has sort of, he criticized talking points a number of times, but he so clearly has talking. I mean, he's just so clearly sort of an online debate head. It did cause him, I do think some of the things that work online, that work when you're controlling everything about how the message is communicated, that it can fly. But, the Republican Party has changed quite a bit. I still don't think the Republican primary electorate is like gonna take all that well to someone calling for revolution, which he did numerous times, and we'll play another clip later on. But he was leaning out over his skis, to say the least, at quite a few segments of this debate. Melissa, any thoughts?
No, I just want the next clip that I'm playing is just the sort of juxtaposition of that sort of heated, sort of childish exchange.
Yeah.
Get out of the trenches of tedious tasks like managing order fulfillment and start growing your business with ShipStation. They'll help increase profitability by automating your workflow with their simple, easy-to-use dashboard. With it, you can pretty much do everything you need to quickly and easily. Update order information, print labels, compare rates, optimize shipments, and even set up automatic delivery notifications. And it doesn't matter where you sell. Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Shopify, ShipStation can integrate pretty much anywhere online. Another great thing about ShipStation? They can help reduce costs with industry-leading discounted rates from some of the biggest mail carriers. You might even be able to get up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. So, make this year your most profitable one yet. Sign up for your free 30-day trial at ShipStation.com and use the code Spotify. That's ShipStation.com with the code Spotify.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
Here's what the American people deserve, is a debate about the issues that affect their lives. Going back and forth being childish is not helpful to the American people to decide on the next leader of our country. Number one, wait a second. And number two, as a kid who grew up in a single-parent household mired in poverty, I wondered, was the American dream real for kids who were devastated by poverty, devastated by the challenges of life? I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America. If we want the environment to be better, and we all do, the best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new jobs in my Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why I say that, Brett.
So that was, of course, Senator Tim Scott breaking in on a question on climate change that literally, like, no one answered for, I mean, like, 3 people spoke and didn't answer the question. The exception being Nikki Haley, who pretty skillfully answered it. I like that clip because I think it shows the problem that Tim Scott had in this debate, Melissa, which is he came to play a role in the debate that was so predictable, so what you would have expected him to play, that he didn't really break through, because he tried to play that role in, I think, inopportune moments. He was very much trying to fit his biography and his sort of message of hope in odd moments. And I think it was a missed opportunity. What I would say is, go back and watch Donald Trump's first presidential debate. Go back and watch Barack Obama's first primary debate. It's very early. A bad debate could knock out someone who's in 8th, 9th, 10th. But this isn't a knockout debate for Scott or anyone else on the stage. With the exception, we'll see what Asa Hutchinson and Doug Burgum do. But Scott's going to learn lessons from this, and we'll see if he's able to apply what he's learned. But it was not a great night for him. Melissa, any comments on the clip?
No, I'm in complete consensus with you on how his team has.
It's about time. About time that I got
Okay.
easy agreement in this household.
No, because getting anybody to sort of maybe give him a first look, a second look. I'm not sure that this debate did it, but I think that he does have more cards up his sleeve.
I will say one weird thing. The first question he got was oddly on welfare. Like, what's his response to
Yes.
Democrats' welfare policies? And I thought that was a pretty questionable choice. And I mean, he's used to talking about these kinds of issues, but I did kind of watch it wondering if he considered for a moment just pushing back on the question. But I wonder if anyone else thought that was an interesting choice by the moderators to direct that to him. But yeah, let's move to the next clip. I think this is a interesting one, and I guess before we do that, I will make like this debate. So we played a couple sort of more trivial clips to start, and certainly, especially in the first like 25 minutes, there's a lot of nonsense. But people will often ask me, like, should I watch the debate? And I'm like, you don't have to. Some people will say, well, I wasn't going to watch it, but then I remembered, like, what would Michael say? And I'm like, I don't know. Don't assume what I would say. I mean, a presidential primary debate in August, when votes don't take place for, almost half a year. I'm not, I don't, there might be other things that you could do with your time. But what I will say is this debate did have several exchanges that were truly substantive, and where you truly got a contrast that if you're thinking about, if you're Republican or you're in a state where you could vote in the Republican primary and you're thinking about who to vote for, I do think there was real information to be had from this debate, so long as you're able to sift through some of the nonsense. And so that's just a general comment I'd make, which is just, again, that, yeah, there's presidential debates are not perfect, but they're very far from perfect in terms of actually promoting sort of democratic discourse and education. But this debate delivered on some important exchanges, I thought. But Melissa, what do you have for us next?
Yeah, so we've talked about a few of the candidates so far who had some interesting moments. The two that we haven't talked about yet are Vice President Mike Pence and Ron DeSantis. With Ron DeSantis, so far continuing to poll second. There's an exchange that happened with regards to Mike Pence's role on January 6th, and the Fox News moderators were trying to get DeSantis to answer the question of, basically,
like, do you support what
Mike Pence
did, yeah,
on that day and afterwards. And this is the moment when Mike Pence jumps in.
The mission of the President of the United States is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I think the American people deserve to know whether everyone on this stage agrees that I kept my oath to the Constitution that day. There's no more important duty. So answer the question.
I've answered this before.
So yes.
Why are we? Mike did his duty. I got no beef with him. But here's the thing: is this what we're going to be focusing on
I'm relieved.
going forward? The rehashing of this. I'll tell you,
Governor
the
DeSantis,
Democrats would love that, and they will win if we
Governor
let them get away
DeSantis,
with it. I'm not letting him hang out in the basement this time. We're going to run him ragged around this country, and we're going to hold him accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess with you just speaking previously to Senator Tim Scott about, the very first debate in August, more than a year ahead of, 2024, and, the first primary, the caucuses in Iowa aren't until January. It's the same kind of feeling, especially for DeSantis, that I have. in that he was so hesitant throughout this entire debate and sort of looking around and trying to very openly get a feel for the lay of the land. And I bet his team is very much working on him being so transparently open about sort of looking hesitant, looking to see what others are doing, and the ability to sort of dodge questions. His skill level there is not.
Yeah, well, I mean,
there.
I think if I had to put a positive or put a strategic reading on it, I do think his game plan is he's got a huge war chest. It is to just maintain in this race until it gets, December, January. Hopefully some others drop out. And so, the anti-Trump vote has to consolidate around someone. And then I think he'll not attack Trump, but just make a case that Trump can't win. But if he starts making that case now, if he's successful, it might push off. It might turn Trump voters away from him. And so I think DeSantis doesn't want to be in the place of prosecuting the place against Trump, but someone else getting the votes. And so, just throughout this night, he was very, very very hesitant. There were a lot of people looking for him to sort of like assert dominance. And if that's the standard, then he clearly failed. If the standard was he's been the clear number 2 in this race since before he even hopped in, and like his goal is just to maintain that and not do anything to mess it up, then I think it was a success for him. Now Mike Pence, he had the most mic time in the debate. He was very assertive. It was, I'm not saying anything new here. He is just sort of like a blast from the past. My friend Pete Weiner used a great term to describe Mike Pence. Pete said he's full of pseudo-gravity. And isn't that right? Isn't that, like, I told Pete, I'm like, that is just precisely the term.
It constantly feels like the Independence Day speech might come out of his mouth.
Yes, 100%. Or at least like he thinks that's what is happening. So, I do think the former vice president did acquit himself well. I don't think the debate hurt him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a bit of a bump out of it. And he certainly was able to orient a lot of the conversation around him, sometimes pretty desperately. He did keep on saying, I'm the most prepared. There was a sense of Hillary Clinton-esque entitlement, except for the fact that when Hillary Clinton was using those lines, she was the front runner, and he is polling at like 3 to 5%. So it comes off. I don't think it came off that well when Hillary Clinton was running in 2008. It certainly didn't come off, or 2016. I think it didn't come off as well in a different way for the former vice president. All right, let's get back to Vivek. And
because the next 2 clips feature former governor, former UN ambassador Nikki Haley. And the first clip is more so on foreign policy, of which Nikki Haley has a lot of experience, and it shows that Vivek not only got under under all the other candidates' skin, he also got under Nikki Haley's skin.
You kind of foreshadowed Nikki Haley's comment there. Let's see if others pick it up.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine.
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous, that we are protecting against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to address each of those right now. This is the false lies of a professional politician. There we have it.
Your watch,
so
you
the
will
reality
make America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what? The foreign policy experience that you all have.
I just have to giggle. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows. Oh, she was incensed.
Yeah, no, and we haven't talked about Governor Haley yet. Her next answer will show this. This may not be her moment. The Republican Party may not be a party that is conducive to her candidacy. But I will say, just in terms of raw political skills and just diligence, she is a remarkable talent. I mean, her preparation for this debate was head and shoulders above everybody else on that stage. I mean, it was just very clear that she did her homework in ways that no other candidate did. She was focused in a way that I don't think any other candidate was. Again, that may not sort of carry the day. She may not have even won the debate, but she's a remarkable political talent. But let's play this final clip, and this is, we're not going to be able to play the whole exchange because it went on for so long, and this is one of the most substantive parts of the debate, and it was the conversation about different approaches to abortion. Let's play the clip.
I am unapologetically pro-life. We need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal, because it's personal for every woman and man.
I'm going to stand on the side of life. Look, I understand Wisconsin is going to do it different than Texas. I understand Iowa and New Hampshire are going to do different. But I will support the cause of life as governor and as president.
Can't we have a minimum standard in every state in the nation that says when a baby is capable of feeling pain, an abortion cannot be allowed? A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come. It's supported by 70% of the American people.
Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes in the House.
70% of the American people support legislation
but
to ban
70%
abortion
of the
after
Senate
a baby is
does
capable
not.
of experiencing pain.
Yeah, so I do just want to make clear, obviously, that was a compilation of excerpts from that exchange. So that wasn't a straight sort of recording from the debate. Part of what wasn't played there was Governor Haley in her answer, and she was the first person to speak to this. She rattled off. I believe she was the first person to speak to the issue. She rattled off like 7 or 8 policies that get like 70-80% support from the American people. Pretty in a pretty compelling way. What it showed me. And I think the fact that she was having a discussion with Pence here allows me to make the point. I don't think... Well, let me start with Haley. What's clear about Haley is that she used the early stages of this campaign extremely well in terms of testing her message, of figuring out what she wanted to say. Again, she may not win. It's very unlikely that she will win, but it's just very clear she knows the message that she's bringing to this race. Pence, on the other hand, he had every opportunity to figure out what his line was going to be, what his approach was going to be. And I still don't get the sense that he really has figured it out, that he really knows how to take credit for everything that he wants to take credit for from the Trump years, while also not supporting his former running mate. And so I think that's one thing to say. Second thing I'd say is just, again, I said this a bit before the clip, but just you had real live. There were so many fake arguments from this debate and presidential debates generally. Nikki Haley attacked everyone who ever had to vote on a federal budget for voting for the federal budget, just taking advantage of the fact that she never had to take votes like that as governor of South Carolina. Vivek was saying that everybody else was bought and paid for because he's never been in public office before. So there was a lot of insincere stuff. But this exchange was real life stuff, and the positions that these candidates take, it has real political and policy consequences, which direction the Republican Party goes in. So yeah, Melissa, any comments?
No, I feel like you've covered it all. I mean, if I had any recommendation and you didn't watch the debate, or you're specifically interested in this issue, Haley's entire answer, where she couches it all in that she wants a consensus approach, I've just never seen a politician be able to speak to this specific issue in any kind of debate setting where she has an idea and she was able to succinctly, clearly, plain English, compelling, based on evidence, based on stats, give a rundown of what she means by consensus and why it makes sense and why her stance works. It was just, honestly, that's the kind of answer I think that will be played in university classes on debate politics in the future.
Yeah, no, she knew the moment was coming, and she had the answer that she felt good about giving. I think that was our last clip.
That's our last clip.
Clip.
I mean, there's a bit of polling that's come out from 3 different polling outlets post debate, the day after. And so far, there's nothing there that's
a lot
really,
of noise.
Really,
I want to take any of it too seriously.
Yeah.
The one interesting thing is Nikki Haley. Insider Advantage has Nikki Haley making a significant jump. It has her at 11%, which is higher than I think she's ever been in a national poll. But there are 2 other polls covering the same period, basically, that don't show that jump for her. And so I think it's a
smallest
lot
sample
of noise.
size. The Insider Advantage was around 800 people, and then Morning Consult had about 1,200 people, and New York Post had 1,800 people. So the sample size was a bit smaller with Insider Advantage.
Yeah. So, again, one thing I don't know is how many eyeballs, how many people actually watched the debate.
Yes. So the New York Post actually asked that in their questions, and they have it at, I'm just opening up here, they have it at 55% of the responses didn't see any of it. 15% said, yes, I watched it all. 15% said I watched some, but not all. 16% said that they just saw a few clips on social media. And then 55% said, no, I did not watch it.
Yeah. And so, this is, I'm not sure this will determine too much. I do think this is more like a getting the lay of the land thing, which is why Ron DeSantis spent the whole debate looking around, looking to see what other people were going to do.
It's very true.
All right, that is all we have for this episode. I mean, do we want to do? I mean, I think we've basically covered it. I mean, I think, right, the trope, the answer that people are giving snidely is that Donald Trump won the debate, which, there's some merit to that, but to be a little less facetious, I do think DeSantis had a stronger night than people than sort of political watchers think he did. I think there's such like a meme culture around him. Like people who are heavily online have been watching videos of him, 2-second clips of him being awkward at events, and so I think like people are reading a whole lot more into his posture, like his facial expressions, than I think the average audience member is. I mean, like this guy, he may not be ready for the national stage, but he is a pretty significantly successful politician. So like I think people are getting a little too hubristic about sort of mocking him. We've been very clear on this podcast that he has not run a good campaign from the beginning, but I think folks are getting a little overboard. So I think DeSantis didn't do anything that would bump him out of second in my view in that debate. I do think Haley had a good night. I don't want to take that poll want to take it with a grain of salt, but I'll be interested in the next week or two to see if she gets some more other positive remarks, particularly in these early states. One thing I'll be watching, and we'll talk about this. We've talked about this before. I want to see South Carolina polling.
Yes.
Remember the primary within the primary. Still, I've been talking about this for now months. No one is talking about it that I've heard. So listeners, you remember one of the most significant aspects of this race is the contest between Tim Scott and Nikki Haley. And voters may never have a direct say in that contest because I think it would be wise for one of them to drop out at least before South Carolina, but probably before Iowa. And so their teams will be watching the polling in South Carolina in particular, very closely. So Haley had a good night. Burgum, we've talked about Burgum, Melissa. I thought he had to make more of an impact, and I think the debate was a missed opportunity for him. And for Scott, he'll learn from this, but he can't have another debate performance like he did here. So those are just some top line views, and next debate is in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And before that, we'll have the ranking.
I don't believe that there's a pasta debate that we'll be able to, judge our pasta rankings off of. We're going to have to go off of a different set of information. But our next GOP ranking will be informed by this debate. Yeah.
Mainly a pasta debate is in the form of you put some pasta in a bowl and it's covered in sauce and it's like one of those like mud pit fights.
It's quite an image, Melissa. Hope you have a great Sunday. Have a great week. Thanks for listening to Where We Are. We are the Wares.
Bye.
It's the end of the weekend, but I still wanna turn up. Yeah, I still wanna turn up. All I want is to go.